I do not think it's a secret to Bills fans anymore that Buffalo is struggling on the boundaries, both at cornerback and at wide receiver. So on today's show, we're going to talk about 6 trade targets, 3 corners, 3 receivers that Brandon Beane should go out there and make a trade for so Buffalo can go out there and lift a Lombardi trophy come February. Before we get into those targets, if you think the Bills need to go out there and make a trade, let's make Brandon Beane see this video. Hit that thumbs up icon, smash the thumbs up button, like a table in the grass lot so Brandon Beane can see this video if you think the Bills need to make a move this season. Look, my take on the wide receiver spot before we get into the 3 guys that I would trade for is this. Everybody eats. This whole approach is cool and all until you match up with a team like the Patriots who can just straight up play man coverage on you with a pretty solid above average secondary and your receivers don't get any separation anymore. I mean, if your guys can't make plays down the field on man coverage, then you're just totally limited as a football team. You become one-dimensional. So how about the Bills go out there and get a bona fide stud, somebody who can Josh Allen can rely upon if he needs to go out there and get a catch down the football field, starting with a guy who probably needs to get the hell up out of his current situation in New Orleans, and that is Chris Olave, a guy who I think is really flying under the radar here as one of the better receivers in this league, can do it all. And I think Bills fans saw that in Week 4. I mean, if he's lighting it up with Spencer Rattler out there, then I'm sure he can do wonders more with Josh Allen. Just 25 years old now. He does have a little bit of an injury history, specifically with concussions, so that is something to note here. But he's on a pretty good deal right now. You're only going to have to pay him $15 million next season as his 5th-year option was exercised. And as far as what he's done in his career so far, I mean, dude, putting up 1,000-yard seasons in New Orleans. It's not that easy to do. And I know the last 2 seasons he hasn't been the most available player, but it's been straight hospital balls in the Big Easy for the last couple of years, man. Derek Carr was the king of throwing hospital balls, both in Oakland, Las Vegas, and in New Orleans as well. I think Chris Olave is a very, very talented receiver, man. Can play on the boundary, can play in the slot, can hit you for a deep shot down the field, can hit you with a slant and take it 70 yards the distance as well, and can work on those intermediate routes as well on the sideline and in the middle of the field. Just a do-it-all receiver, but he does have his drawbacks. He is coming up on a contract year next season and also has the injury history as well. So my projected trade price on Chris Olave would be a 3rd-round pick here. Let me know if that's one that you would be interested in. Moving on to the second trade target here at the receiver spot is Jeudy of the Cleveland Browns. Now, this is a player who I have a little bit more reservations on just as far as skill-wise goes than I do Chris Olave. But, I mean, Jeudy has been definitely more available than Olave over the last couple of years. He is a little bit older, though, 1 year older at 26 years old. But another guy who needs to get the heck up out of his situation in Cleveland. Things are not looking up there in their passing offense. And look, Jeudy hasn't done himself many favors so far this year. Only 15 catches for $197 through 5 games. It's just not so good. But he's been a guy who's put up 1,300 yards in a bad Browns offense last year. So absolutely some upside still for Jeudy. There is some concerns about his hands. He has had a drop issue in his career before, but I think all that stuff is pretty short up now. He's a solid route runner and can make plays with the football in his hand as well. I think as far as what a trade price would look like for Jeudy here, it would be around a 5th-round pick. He originally got traded to Cleveland for a 5th and a 6th-round pick from Denver, and he's definitely upped his stock a little bit. But so far this season, he has not done much to raise the type of capital that Cleveland would be receiving back in this trade. So I'm going to go with a 5th-round pick on Jeudy. Last one up here for the wide receiver position, Jakobi Meyers. Probably the player out of these 3 that has been most in trade talks and rumors so far this year because, the guy requested a trade out of Las Vegas. Now, the Raiders have not honored that request. They're not really calling teams up, shopping Jakobi Meyers really at any point so far this year. But one thing is clear to me is that he and Geno Smith are not on the same page. Yeah, he's had 25 catches for 300 yards so far, but that's, less than 55 yards a game for a guy who should be their number 1 receiver on the boundary so far. One thing about Jakobi Meyers, who I think the Bills would be really, really intrigued by as well, is how good of a run blocker he is. Something he prides his game on a lot is just being able to be an inline blocker. And you could kind of disguise yourself a little bit more rather than having Tyrell Shavers out there on a ton of running or rushing downs. Having Jakobi Meyers out there, the defense could still be having to be fearful of the pass or at least Jakobi Meyers' threat as a receiver out there, kind of less so than they have to right now with a guy like Shavers, who they kind of know they're going to get engaged with on a blocking attempt when the Bills run the ball with him out there the majority of the time. With Jakobi Meyers, I talked to Raiders Report host Mitchell Renz here at Chat Sports, and he did say that the 4th-round pick would probably be the asking price. Now, Meyers is also a player who's in a contract year, so would the Bills be willing to give up a 4th-rounder for a guy who they're probably not going to pay $20+ million this upcoming offseason? This would be a rental here for Buffalo, so not so sure that they would want to give up a 4th-round pick in order to acquire Meyers here, but if I had to choose, he probably would be my second choice out of these 3. If you had to choose, you can, down in the comment section, pick a wide receiver to trade for, and their jersey numbers are what you got to type. Chris Olave, type 12, Jerry Jeudy, type 3, and Jakobi Meyers, type 16. Let me know what you guys think, as we'll have cornerback trade targets just around the corner, though. First, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor, and that, of course, is Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. It can get you up to 2,000 times your money watching your Buffalo Bills this football season because it's daily fantasy made easy. It's also the best daily fantasy sports app because of all the deals that they offer, like max discounts. If you guys have ever seen 99% off discounts, yeah, those are ones that I want to hunt. And PrizePicks does that with their stat projections. Sometimes they'll have Josh Allen more than 1/2 a passing yard on the entire game. They're just giving you a green square for free. Also, they offer stacks, the only daily fantasy sports app to offer stacks, which means you can have the same player in your lineup with 3 different stat projections. You want Josh Allen rushing yards, passing yards, and touchdowns? You can do it. Also, they want to make it easy for you guys, especially new users. They'll start you guys off with a free $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup, but you got to use our promo code CLNS. My lineup for week 6 with the Bills matching up with the Falcons. I got Bijan Robinson more than 30.5 receiving yards. I got Dalton Kincaid more than 38.5 receiving yards because he's the only man beater on this football team. And then James Cook more than 76.5 rushing yards. A little bit bounce back game for number 4. You can tail my picks or fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. My take on the cornerback position is a little bit different than that of trading for a wide receiver for Buffalo because they have some reinforcements on the way, but how effective are those reinforcements going to be right away? That is the question that we have to ask ourselves. Because Max Harrison does remain on injured reserve right now for Buffalo, still rehabbing back from that knee injury. And is he going to be somebody who the Bills are confident in, Sean McDermott specifically confident in, starting at that CB2, after missing 11 weeks to start his rookie season? I'm not so sure. So I think a stopgap would kind of be a better option here. You have Christian Benford at your CB1. He hasn't played all that great this year, but you have big money committed to him here for the next couple of seasons. So we're going for a CB2 here. When we look at wide receiver, I don't even know who the wide receiver 1 is in Buffalo at this point, especially on the boundary. CB, we have a little bit more, insurance with Taron Johnson and Christian Benford. Let's look at somebody in the middle of the pack compared to, the top-end wide receivers that we had at the beginning of today's video. Starting with Greg Newsome, who honestly has been a top-end corner in this league, an above-average player for multiple seasons throughout his career, but had an injury in 2024 and in 2025 is struggling a little bit. Now, one thing we do know about Greg Newsome is he is a staunch run defender, can wrap up and tackle, and is a player who does already have 2 tackles for loss, 2 stuffs at the line of scrimmage, 3 PBUs so far this year. Like, nothing crazy, but he absolutely still can go out there and play. He's graded very highly per PFF in multiple seasons throughout his career. I just think he might need a new change of scenery here on the Browns. I mean, this is a guy who had 2 interceptions back in 2023 and 14 PBUs. Like, that was a really, really good season for him, and has just fallen off a little bit over the last couple of years. But, I mean, in the right spot in Buffalo here, I think that, especially as a CB2, he'll be able to thrive and be in a decent spot here, especially giving Buffalo a better cornerback, too, than Tre'Davious White would be. My projected trade price for him would be a 4th-round pick here. If the Bills are going to trade for a corner, I think it's going to be a player who they have at least some level of confidence in as a tackler, and Greg Newsome is absolutely one of those guys. I'd be fine giving up a 4th-round pick for him. I do think he's in a contract year as well. Riq Woolen is a player I know is in a contract year in Seattle, and look, his play has dropped off tremendously since he was a rookie and was the runner-up to Defensive Rookie of the Year to Sauce Gardner. Look, so far this year, he's kind of seeing his playing time decrease with the return of Devon Witherspoon back in the Seattle lineup, and this is a guy who is good, has all the athletic tools, 6'4", runs a 4.2 40, but the mental lapses are what troubles Seahawk fans. And kind of much differently than a guy like Greg Newsome, Riq Woolen does have trouble tackling. I know his PFF grades in run defense are pretty decent, actually above average, but if you just watch the tape, this guy is not a super willing tackler here. I mean, now if we look back to what he did in his rookie season, I mean, he was phenomenal, man. 16 PBUs, led the league in interceptions, but you can kind of see the production dipping as the seasons go along. Did have a kind of a bounce back year in 2024 statistically, but Seahawks fans know that Riq Woolen is not the player that he was, at least when he started his career in Seattle. So with that being said, with him kind of knowingly on the trade block at this point, also in a contract year, I think the projected trade price on Riq Woolen here would be a 5th-round pick. Would I be fine giving that up? We made a full video about Riq Woolen last week. I absolutely would give away a 5th-round pick in order to bring the Seattle corner over to Buffalo. Now, my final trade target for the Bills at the cornerback spot will be, wait for it, Riley Moss of the Denver Broncos here. And this is a player who I think really does need another change of scenery as well. I was talking to Broncos breakdown host Trace Moustakis here, and he was saying that he'll take a bag of chips for Riley Moss at this point. The issue with Moss here is that he said 4 out of 5 plays, the guy's awesome in coverage. But that 5th play, he's getting beat over the top for an 80-yard touchdown. Now, where I kind of leave those concerns at the door is the Bills run a defensive scheme that doesn't allow a ton of over-the-top big-time plays. They don't get beat over the top in that Bills secondary. So I think this is a situation that could be advantageous for both sides here. A young player as well, just 25 years old, a guy who you're not going to have to pay this upcoming offseason as well, so can kind of develop a little bit more in the Bills defensive scheme. I don't mind Riley Moss at all. I didn't get a ton of opportunity in year 1, and now in years 2 and 3, he's been a little bit better. I did have that one interception on his career back in 2024, and look, you're not going to have to give up too much to go out there and get him. Jeudy Barron, their 1st-round pick at the cornerback spot, is starting to take more and more reps away from Riley Moss here opposite Patrick Surtain. So I think it's only going to have to be a 6th-round pick in order to bring Riley Moss to Buffalo. So we asked you guys which wide receiver you guys would want to trade for. Pick a cornerback to trade for here now. Greg Newsome, give me a 0 down in the comment section. Riq Woolen, drop a 27. And Riley Moss, drop a 21. Which CB would you want to trade for out of these 3? As that will do it for today's edition of the Bills Breakdown. Give me a follow over on Twitter at Tyler J. Smith. 2 H's because the name is common and I am not. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. More Bills videos on the channel as we get closer to Monday Night Football. And we will be live for that Monday Night Football game against the Falcons as well. So we'll see you guys all in the next one. And as always, let's go Buffalo.